Hey everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Bulls versus Bears, episode 130. Look, it's a blue background this week because we've ended up somewhere around the flat region. But you know, in keeping with our chip puns, it was Chiplash this week because we had some of the highest volatility you've ever seen in these memory chip stocks in particular, or the socks. I think the average move was about 5% a day for the actual index. Now, I've got some devastating news. JT, it must have been his research trip last week. He beat us. He was bullish this week.
Oh,
and last night's recovery in the S&P of 1.7% got him over the line. So look, he's actually picked it as well as he picks it when he's actually here, which is a little bit concerning. Maybe he'll lift when he gets back. But Aussie this week, I mean, obviously we finished, and this is as of this morning. What do we do today, Phil? We were obviously broadly up, yeah.
We opened up stronger, and then we drifted off a few bit of profit taking certain things like consumer staples and stuff. Woolworths probably up around 40, was a bit expensive and stuff. And we've had a pretty good week. The Aussie battler's back.
The Aussie battler
sounds a bit like myself. And there weren't too many weak sectors. I mean, we had great results from Rio. They basically finished up 5% in the week. Banks was strong, and you saw them basically.
There you go. There's the heat map for you. So Rio was up 5.
Yep.
The banks are pretty strong, despite Westpac coming out and saying that home loan application volume was down.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in Block. No one does. I don't think anyone except Jack Dorsey knows what's going on in Block. It's the world's most complicated business. It's like an enigma wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in a crypto blockchain, wrapped in like DeFi. But Aristocrat as well headed a little bit higher, and then CSL and Resman. I think CSL got hit a little bit today, did it not? Just on the a little bit of profit taking in that. Yeah, it was down about 4% today. So this is actually as of this afternoon, because we've had a super. It's been like the busiest week we've ever had, and we've been a touch short staffed, and with young Finn having to head home for some family stuff, and JT still on his massive research trip, and I hope he kept all his receipts, and particularly for the dry cleaning of that suit. He didn't actually comment on that, but yeah, Nikkei was down a fair bit. Hang Seng was up a bit. China was down a little bit, and then obviously all of these gains in the US markets were basically on the back of the move last night. And then Amazon was up 8 or 9% in the aftermarket as well. So we'll start pretty positively tonight, I would imagine. SK Hynix was up 29% today. So this is why we called it Chiplash today. And then, look, these charts don't look that bad, but I'm going to run you through. Micron is on the left-hand side there. So Micron started the week. This is the last 5 days. Down 7%, down 2%, down 8%, down 9%, up 18%. To finish the week, just down 5% only. SK Hynix started a little bit better, up at 2%. Then the next day it was down 14 or nearly 15, down nearly 10, down 6, and then it jumped 29 today to finish the week down 3%. Hence Chiplash. Shout out to Sean Taverner. He's been sending me in ideas. I think one of them it got filtered, but I think yesterday or the day before he sent through soggy chips, and I went, people might get the wrong idea. This is not a financial podcast, but keep the ideas coming. I'm going to keep this. It's very rare you get to run with the pun for ages. But WiseTech was up quite a bit this week as well, Phil.
WiseTech was up. I think basically realised it's a good stock, and but if he can keep certain parts of his anatomy intact or whatever, if you know what I mean.
Allegedly, just remember this goes so allegedly, if he could keep things, that sort of thing. And Zero was up 11% actually. That's a pretty good run for Zero. Our tech sector did all right.
Yeah, they did. They just turn around. They just flip around constantly. Like PME got back to 152 last week, and then now it's back to 160 now. And then, so there's a lot of money moving around there. And
well, you've been looking at the relationship between when the chip stocks are down, the software stocks tend to go up, and you've been almost
that's correct. As you said, there's a lot of rotating going on. So basically, all the money in the States, they're keeping the money, as you've mentioned, Mark. All the fund managers are sitting on barely any cash, so it's all stuck in the markets. They have to move it around. They have to, move it from one sector to another. And now the chips might be back again tonight. They'll probably be strong, and you might see the IGV, which is basically the SaaS ETF, I suppose. You might see that off. And so if you look at the spread of that and how much it moves, and I mean, it even happens in our market.
And that's a really good point. Like when people are limit on their margin lending as a retail, and the fund managers have got no spare cash, like you've got to sell something to buy something else, right? So
and you even see it here, like say our banks, they're fully stretched, and they'll move into the regional banks. Like things like Bendigo was up, I think it might have been up 7 or 8% or something. That sort of area's been dead for a long time. So basically, they try and move it somewhere.
Interesting times, and I mean, good recovery I think there's a fair few people wiping their brow in CSL. Because it would have been up 10% bar today. And hopefully they just don't have a shocker in earnings again. And obviously the mining sector has been pretty good. Well, copper basically is the good thing, and gold's kind of hanging in there. I think gold will be. 30-year yields went to their highest point in the US since 2007, when Kevin Warsh spoke. He spoke for 60 minutes, and I've got to say the feedback from Bloomberg, Reuters, and CNBC was not in any way, shape, or form positive. And then Donald Trump came in and gave him a rap for not hiking rates, and then said Kevin Warsh wants rates down. And then they're all just saying, well, that's just ruined his credibility already. And that when Trump said that, the 30-year yields were up 7, and they went another 5 on that. Basically, so when those 30-year yields, it means long end yields. That's like a measure of distrust in the whole system, because it's not a good look when your central bank looks like it's got your presidential puppet at the head of it. But Kai, I mean, we moved. You had the US call this week. What was your favourites there?
Oh yeah, no,
not Boeing, by the way. That's the funniest story. You got to nominate your own stock, and you went, oh, okay, Boeing, and then you looked in it and you went, oh my God, I don't actually like this stock. No!
You know what? That was so funny. It was like I was reading through it because initially I was going to go with a bit of defense because I knew Mark Mullen would probably go the traditional tech stocks, and I was like, we're going to end up talking about the same stocks over and over again, right? So I wanted to switch it up a little bit, but then I included Boeing, and then I'm looking through it, and then I'm going, oh no, this is a terrible idea. And I'm trying to spin it as a turnaround story. I'm like, oh yeah, but the CEO's focusing on quality. I'm like, oh, this is probably not a very strong argument.
I'm not sure. Was it Boeing that was like knocking people off that were complaining about their safety standards, or was it Airbus? One of those two was like, people were mysteriously disappearing.
Oh, like, they had stories where, like, the bloody doors on the Boeing planes were flying off, so it's...
Oh, wow, yeah. So the old flip it, I mean, like, I've got to say, we've been that busy this week. That ASX heat map, I swear to God, that is, if I didn't have you next to me, Phil, I would not have known like hardly any of it. And then I had to pre-record the investment committee today, and I think we did this SK Hynix Micron deal because taking advantage of the volatility. It's the busiest 6 hours of my life this morning. Well, certainly at NBC Markets, and then it got to midday, and we recorded about 1 o'clock, and I'm like, I haven't even looked at this list, and it was a mad scramble to. Thankfully, everyone's a little bit cautious leading into earnings season anyway. But the big story was Microsoft. So, and look, Amazon, which I mean, was flat for the week. You can see just to the in the middle of the screen there, you've obviously the dark green one's Microsoft best, and there's a chart coming up. This is the best day since 2007. Meta got smoked, but basically everyone's just saying, like, to Zuckerberg, like, just stay in your lane. Stop trying to do 500 different things where there's loads of competition. Like, just like do one thing, because now apparently he's going to go into enterprise AI. And then Amazon obviously flat for the week, but that doesn't include the 9% it was up in the aftermarket. So those two have been pretty disciplined on CapEx. It wasn't any major surprises. Amazon's figures weren't great, I've got to say. Their revenue missed, and their free cash flow was negative, more negative than thought. But their AI cloud division, which is a AWS is a subsector of their business, and then AI cloud is a subsector of AWS. It's now at a $26 billion annual run rate just for that section of the business. And it's basically only a few quarters old. And look, and it was kind of proof that there's money. Like, the growth of Azure was 43%, and the CapEx obviously in that same year was up 50%. So the analysts were kind of saying, well, 7% is not that big of a deal. Like, if the growth's going to be that high, well, you're probably okay spending that much on it. And look, even with Micron up 18% last night, it was still down 10% for the week, up until today. And then AMD was down, but there was no news in any of them. I think it's just that leverage that we've been talking about for a couple of weeks just largely got flushed out, particularly in Korea, got pretty flushed out pretty hard. So there'd be a few people, in the room of mirrors at this point. But it was like, and then Apple was down. I do believe Apple, they were going okay, and then in the aftermarket, I'm pretty sure they got hit about 4 or 5%.
Yeah,
7% actually. And it was, basically they're nothing new and increasing costs and all this sort of stuff. There wasn't really a definitive kind of answer for it. I think it's probably just Apple's used as a bit of a safe haven. So I think it was just people switching back into the big cloud guys, I suppose. That's the biggest. That's about 15.5. It was 19 at one stage. It's the biggest one-day rise. $640 billion added in market cap in one day, which would be phenomenal if we didn't just IPO the world's biggest lemon for the next 5 years at 1.7 trillion. But that makes no money. But so this was a couple of. We were very stretched for time, so I've just pulled some of the slides from the morning call. But Meta obviously got smashed more than that. Qualcomm used to make chips for Apple. Oh, well, they still do, but Apple's so frustrated with them, they're making them themselves. Fortinet, which is a cybersecurity, was up. Microsoft, Microsoft, that was into earnings. And then Starbucks was up. Apparently so they're going to be almost a little bit automated. Like, they're looking at doing robots as not baristas, but as I don't think they're going to have people serving you anymore. I think there'll be a barista making you coffee, but everything else will be automated, and Chipotle as well. Oh, Lamb Research, which is your one, which we do still have on for some people who wanted to keep it. And and because they're just such solid reporters, but and that up 7% was in a market that was down hard that night. So that was a really good. I'd be interested to see what they were up for for the week, but yeah, and then ARM, I couldn't believe ARM's profit margins. It's like 91%, oh wow, Lamb Research actually was up 17% last night. That was on fire. Wow, and it's up, and then was up another 4 in the aftermarket. Oh wow, that really bounced back. I didn't even spot that. And then there's nothing there really of any note. Oh, except for Amazon, obviously. But we just told you about that. Rightio, next week, Berkshire. No one cares about Berkshire because they're just sitting on mountains of cash, and he may as well be in T-bills. AMD, Pfizer, Qualcomm, and then REA kicks off earnings season, I do believe. RBA rate decision on Tuesday, and that's in the wrong spot. And non-farm payrolls on the Friday night. Merck as well in the healthcare sector. And I believe Eli Lilly is Wednesday, I think, next week. So fairly busy calendar, but nothing much in the way of economic. And there's no, we got NVIDIA left in terms of the hyperscalers. So, and I mean, look, I would expect NVIDIA probably will look pretty good. You were saying before, Phil, that you quite like the look of the chart. So yeah, but that's really it. I mean, boys, is there, like, apart from the chip, like the absolute routing and the chips and things, like anything particular that caught your eyes this week?
I'd probably say our CPI was a surprise.
Oh yeah,
there probably goes. Well, if this might be the last rate hike we've had for a while. We'll just wait and see. But a lot of people were expecting at least one more, maybe two. So therefore, a few of the consumer discretionary stocks took off, like JB Hi-Fi. I think that was up 7 to 8% of the week.
Yeah,
and that also helped the banks as well. So that helped our stock market overall, which
that'll probably help the industrial sector generally. Like it's usually pretty good if you can pick the turn and the rate cycle.
Yeah, correct.
It's usually the low in the industrials, and there's a lot of those like electrical engineering companies that have been beaten down in the last couple of weeks. That look really cheap. Like they're only mid caps, but they're so consistent and they're so good at what they do, and they've got to roll out a data centers and EV and blah blah blah. What about you, Kai? What was sorry, we didn't ever got to your favorite. We just took the piss on Boeing, but what was your favorite for the call?
There was we went through obviously the standard tech ones, and Google came up, NVIDIA of course went into the whole background story of Jensen, his life story. But it was
really?
No, it was like it's pretty insightful.
Well, you're lucky you didn't get Elon, because he loves to talk about Elon, Mr. Morland.
No, but it's really interesting because talking about early conception, NVIDIA. Originally they were GPU accelerators, or gaming, but if you ask the question, does Jensen actually know he was planning to go into AI and these GPUs will be relevant to AI? It's like, hell no. No way, right?
No, the Bitcoin miner guys found that out first.
Yeah, and but he was really smart in terms of how he strategically placed that. But it was a risky bet, right? Because basically he realized that in order to get the GPU accelerator, they were great at processing, but it was like, the uptake of NVIDIA chips will be based on how much developer uptake there is, right? So that's why they spent so much money on CUDA. But when they first started, it was like a death sentence for their profit margin, and all the shareholders were getting pretty rowdy because they're like, we're having good business creating all these GPUs. Why like absolutely tank our profit margins to do this? And then 10 years later, here we are, right? Like it's paid off. But yeah, like he's a brilliant guy. First principles thinking, but willing to also make big bets as well. So, you need a little bit of that, a little bit of balls to kind of put it on the line. So massive respect out to Jensen. One little hidden stock, which is one we both actually agreed on, was PTC. So it is in the SaaS arena, and I know there's a blanket sell on basically every SaaS known to man in the world.
Did he suggest that stock?
No, it was actually a viewer suggestion.
Yeah, okay. There was one starting with P that he really liked in the software sector.
Yeah, it was like
I can never remember the name of founder led.
I'm not too sure if it was founder led or not, but like we both looked at it and we're like, hold on a second, like this is actually really, really good. And they have this, criteria or whatever it is, and it's like has to beat 20% per year returns. Yep. But I think when we both looked at it, it was actually a really good software company that had a decent moat. It's in the ERP space, and it's related to engineering, right? So basically, the CAD softwares and all that stuff. So it's I found it pretty interesting. That was a hidden nugget that we both agreed on.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, might take.
I do like it when the viewers send in one, and when because you can't keep track of everything.
No,
and not if you want to keep your sanity. And particularly those mid cap ones and stuff like that. Like I don't know. Like Phil, obviously you're new to the game, but what's gonna? I mean, even as a trader, you turn up to like a dinner party or a party or something, and the amount of times that someone goes, "Oh, what do you reckon about this?" Really niche 100 mil company from like South Africa, and they just expect you to know
exactly
every company in the world. Like, we're not that smart at the end of the day.
No, that was one of the good things about Bitcoin.
Is.
She was always
Bitcoin,
about Bitcoin, and I was like, I don't know.
Well.
Anyway,
there's no. I love when you get asked fundamentals on Bitcoin because there is no.
Exactly.
It doesn't. It's not like it's got a PE or someone invented a currency and people think it's worth something, and then they get very upset. The gold buggers get very upset when you turn around and go, "It's the same as gold. It's a belief system." If we go to the apocalypse, I'm pretty sure clean water and fresh food will be more important than gold. But
I just go and grab a drink then, Mark. I walk off.
Yeah, right. But but you're very disciplined. You wouldn't be going out even. Obviously, crude was down this week. It was interesting to see the energy secretary in the US just pretty much on a daily basis lie through his teeth. He said that no more US strategic reserves were going to be released. They released 8 million barrels. He said the traffic through Hormuz was back to 3/4. It's not even not one day has been above half of the traffic of Hormuz, and that was the day when they announced the ceasefire, which is like now we're 14 days into full-on war. And we've got 2 straits blocked, but market doesn't care. So but gas prices in the US are they're getting up there. Like it's back at and I might even try to Google this as we go, but they're well back above $4 on average across the country, which means in California they'd be eye-watering. And I noticed. I was driving to work this morning, and my car's got a big tank because we've got an 8-seater. It's like 120, and I'm so glad I filled up last week because it's jumped 50 cents for diesel in the last 7 days here in Australia, in Sydney, which is quite a lot. Got 30% uplift, and so look, that's still dominating, but I think not cutting rates, silver and gold and. Well, not gold, but silver and copper and platinum all sort of made a bit of a move back. And then uranium made a move back and lithium. So they're all sort of risk on at the moment. But some of these moves last night and this bounce out of the bottom, because we've been watching a few, Nebius and CoreWeave and that iron in that data center as a service, they were all roughly up. Well, iron was up 30%, Nebius up 28%, CoreWeave was up 22%, and then there is just some fringe stocks last night, which we sort of keep an eye on. Like AMD up 13, Micron up 18, Oklo up 12. Like that was a big switch last night, I've got to say. There's some really, and then obviously Lam Research up 17. Like, despite the fact they were down slightly on the week, they're some pretty massive moves. Teradyne, which reported well, which we've got one of our robotics one, was up 15% last night. So like VIX is, the index, the VIX is really low, but like the moves are just massive. And I've never we've thought that the single stock volatility versus the index volatility dispersion was pretty big a couple of weeks ago. Like that's got to be just out of control now. Like I've never seen a stock market, like individual stocks, be so whippy, and then the index just is like up 1 or 2, up or down 0.5 to 1%. Like it's nothing really going on. So very interesting times. It doesn't bode well for Aussie earnings season. That's going to be pretty difficult. Oh yeah, this was a tweet that came out this week. So Trump said we're going to beat the effing shit out of them in an interview on Fox News. So that was a bit of class from the president, and then someone put out that tweet, which I thought was quite funny. So anyway, for those of you listening, just laugh. You can't see it, but just assume it's funny. It's all good. But fear and greed, we moved a point. JT freaking got us. Although I reckon if he was here, he would have been bearish last week. And sadly though, we're all bullish this week, and he's bearish. No. And I, you know what? I've just got a bad feeling that he's going to get us again. And that will actually bring him back. He'll start to play a bit of catch up. But well, look, Phil, we'll just give you a point. It's your second week, mate. It's your second week, and
weekend at Bernie's.
It's all right. I mean, look, it's a little bit difficult when we've had the week that we've had. It's very rare that we do have a beer on the podcast.
Oh, I know.
This week has been quite extraordinary, but so we are going to run some fixed coupons next week. And for those of you who sort of missed out, there's a pretty interesting strategy this week, taking advantage of the volatility and getting a nice coupon in SK Hynix and the rest of them. But I think just to be honest, like I don't know whether there's no real feature to come out of it today. We haven't had a lot of time to research, so I do apologize. It's going to be a pretty short podcast. Everything's ended up largely unchanged in an extraordinarily volatile week, which is a lot of it's been for no reason. So boys, is there anyone got any? I mean, what our new favorite fact is obviously 1 in 30 people in Korea got a margin call. I like that statistic so much that I'm not even going to verify it because I just want it to be true. It did show this week. Any other fun facts, gentlemen? Any other interesting tidbits?
Yeah, Mark, back to talk about Korea. Basically, Squid Game, the whole premise is that was the main character who got margin called in Cosby Futures.
Yes, that is a little known fact. He was
I don't know how many viewers actually know that, or I actually picked that up the first time I ever paid attention to anything in the movie, and it was quite funny. So, and with the Cosby, I think it was down 11% the day before, up 15 today. So yes. There might be Squid Game number 10 coming up.
Well, I think there's a lot of there'll be quite a few retail. So it's the biggest retail options market in the world, but Yeah, they don't do sports betting over there. They just punt stocks, and there's only like 6 of them. So, and they do love to get leveraged up. So, they won't be needing. I mean, imagine if they release prediction markets over there with leverage.
Are they thinking of banning it?
No, they're going to curb the 3 times and 2 times ETFs over there. Because basically everyone was already. This is like they only released them about a couple of months ago or something. But like they didn't they'd spent so much time approving them. By the time they came in, everyone was already like way leveraged to the hilt in options and margin lending. And then they've released that as well. So people have just like gone and done that as well.
It's crypto.
And it was like adding petrol to the fire, and they've gone, oh yeah, no, we might need to get rid of those ETFs. But like, to be honest, like I think the derivatives are a little bit more dangerous than the ETFs. At least you got to have cash in your account for the ETF. Thank God we don't do even with the structured products we've got. At least we're very careful to define the downside because it gets pretty slippery sometimes. Like I said, apart from that, I don't recall Finn having anything major. I mean, there was nothing in crypto land. It's been one of those weeks. So we'll stop boring you and let everyone get on with their weekend. Phil, you definitely get the award for most improved this week. Do you want shout out to Phil's sister? Your feedback was welcome. You're 100% right. And he's fixed himself up. I've got some lighting here.
Spray tan next week.
And thank you for those of you who commented. That was I was a bit shocked. And no one normally comments. But thanks, Kai. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kai.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening in, and hopefully we'll be a touch more energetic. Oh, JT's back next week.
Thank God.
I might get. You know what? I'm gonna make him host the show next week. My brain's checked out. It's gone. So, we might make him maybe run us through a few more snaps from his holiday. But have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll chat again next week.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.